folks. Welcome to A Cup of Joe here on CCN TV 6. I'm Joel Villafana. Next to me is Abiel Jackson, keeping me upright.
And on time.
And on time.
That's right.
How are you?
Sole purpose. I'm well. Good? I'm well, yes.
Yeah, it's been a good weekend for you, has it?
Kind of hectic, trying to get things together for this upcoming week.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those kind of weeks,
One of those kind of weeks.
where everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
When that happens, what do you do?
Pedal to the metal. You know, that kind of vibe. Just pretty much say, I am not going to let circumstances get the best of me, and you get creative and you make it happen. It's pretty much what I do.
You're that
What
girl.
do you do?
I say, Abiel!
You leave it to me. That's exactly what he does. He calls me and he says, this is the case, and I say, don't worry, Joel Villafana, I will fix it. That's what I do.
Truth be told.
Truth be told. TBT. TBT.
What is TBT?
Truth be told. All right, Trinidad and Tobago, we have a fantastic week planned for us. Before we get into it, we have to say thank you so much once again to Brandit for all of our Cup of Joe Season 2 paraphernalia. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Brandit.
And we also have to say thank you so much to Rani Flatbread as we get into what's inside the cup for today.
Tell us what's inside the cup.
Well, we'll be sharing a cup with a very, very special gentleman. He's very talented and very determined, and has risen against what some people will call very trying odds. So we hear his story. We talk to Storming Tom. I know you are quite close to him, and you've worked with him, and you've been very excited
very
to share.
Inspirational guy. Very, very inspirational guy.
Right, so we're going to be inspired this Monday morning as we share a cup with Storming Tom. I'm looking forward to hearing his story. We also get into our brand new feature. We didn't feature it the first week, but Republic Bank has jumped on board. They're inside. They've joined the Cup of Joe family. Yeah. So they're going to be giving us our financial fix, and you can get it every Monday right after we share a cup. So you're going to get your financial fix on.
Yes.
We're making it fun.
It's going to be challenging to make finances fun. But that's what Republic Bank is here for.
But we're going to make it happen.
That's what they're here for.
And then we get into Cup for a Cause, and we're going to be talking to a gentleman by the name of Glenn Niles. He is the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Down Syndrome Family Network. So we're going to be talking about Down syndrome and families who have children with Down syndrome, and the process of coming to grips with it and moving forward and realizing that those children are quite special and gifted in their very own way. So, and of course, we bring up the rear with our spoken word spotlight.
Looking forward to it. Last week was a bumper start.
It really was.
Thank you very much for bringing that to the fore.
You're welcome.
Yes,
I do what I can. Yeah. So y'all can look forward to some amazing artists this week. Today we feature a side of a twin.
A side of a twin?
A side of a twin. Seriously? So we have Brandon and Brendan. Today we have Brandon.
Okay.
Are you going to be able to keep up with that?
I'll try and remember that.
So you can look forward to that. Lots of reasons to keep it right here inside of A Cup of Joe. And thank you again to Rani Flatbread.
That's what's coming up inside our cup today. Stay with us here. We will be right back. You're 50? 50?
Yeah.
You're 50.
Don't remind
me. Yeah.
What changed my entire life was when I met people with Down syndrome who were very independent. I could speak to them just like how I'm speaking to you.
He's the same boy you brought up. Same boy that could be the next Lara if you just buy him a bat and stay with him.
Could make some Trini favorites any day with Rani Flatbread. You give some tomatoes a roast, cook in oil and seasoning, 5 minutes at most. Give Rani a light toast, fill with choker, and be an epic host.
Now that's a Rani good idea.
One morning, Peter walked out to find every flower that he never stopped to notice. Every sunrise that he never watched, every football match he forgot to play with his son, and arrived at a cafe to find every conversation he never had with his father. And it was only then that Peter finally decided to wake up. Wake up to life. Nescafe. Nestle. Good food, good life.
We're the one who's always there to help you all of the way.
Systems that work for you as you live life each day. We're the one who makes it easier to
We give personal attention, so make us your selection.
We're back, and I'm about to share a cup with a gentleman that doesn't know that he was actually one of my inspirations when I started radio, probably some 12, 13 years, I've lost count, well, probably about 13 years ago. He was one of my inspirations, and I'm sure he doesn't know that, but I worked with him back in my I-95 era, and I am so privileged to share a cup with Storming Tom this morning, radio personality and a broadcaster here in TNT. And what a story I'm sure Storming Tom has to tell us. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Joel, and thanks for having me. Quite by surprise, but that's what life is like.
That is what life is all about. That is what life is all about. Tom, you have been, I actually read your age and I jumped.
I mean, I look so much younger.
You look like a little young boy. You look like a young boy.
We have to credit Jane Warner Tom for that.
Yeah.
She's working well.
She's working well. And that's your wife.
Yes.
That's your wife. You're 50?
Yeah.
You're 50.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. But and when I look back, it's the amount of time, the thing we have spent together, working together, that I recognize, okay, the years really have elapsed so quickly. You've been around for some time, Tom.
Yep. Time flies too when you're having fun. Even when you're not having fun, yeah. Time just flies.
Time just flies. You have always wanted to be a broadcaster.
Yes, and I spent when I came out of school, well, further back than that, at around 7, 8, 9, you had these radiograms. I remember a friend of mine had a sharp radiogram, and I would be there spinning records days, for hours and hours and hours and hours, and pretending to be this hot radio announcer, pleasing the entire community. In my teenage days, late teens, my brother bought a stereo setup, so now it was becoming more like a DJ. 2 speakers, turntable. Had broken many styluses, gotten in trouble for it, scratched many records, but it all happened so that I can perfect the art. And I really wanted to be a DJ. I finally realized that. Simultaneously with that, you have people like Rennie Bishop, Dave Alcock, Phil Simmons on the radio inspiring me. And I just knew that I had to make this dream come true. Who says daydreaming is bad? Daydreaming is a good thing, because I was able to. Let me tell you something. I used to be at home, doing nothing, imagining myself to be in a studio. I imagined CD players that would have pitch and that kind of stuff, where DJs would be mixing as they do records. I'm sorry I didn't patent the dream, because I've been a millionaire by now.
And you were born blind?
Yes,
Tom?
I was born blind, yes.
So it's just amazing to me that you were born blind, but you wanted to take on a job and a career that really involves so much to do with sight and touch and your senses, because broadcasting really, you have to be so aware with everything else, and you wanted to challenge that. Tell me about those days when you recognize that, hey, this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to let anything get in the way of me doing that.
So I came out of school, I had completed having all these dreams, and I was an adult, and I wanted to get into the media. It took me 14 years to realize that. Meanwhile, I would be doing little DJ stuff, DJ gigs all over the place. The closest to it would have been at what is the Montano Plaza in San Fernando, where I set up a mall radio station and to serve the clients within the mall. And that's where the dream kind of got going. Then came the CCN group with Prime Radio 106, and now then it was Classic Radio 106. And I got in through a friend of mine who had a sponsored program sponsored by one of the telecommunication companies. So I did the voices for them, all the what we call stingers, but we did them live. And that gave Julian Rogers the opportunity to hear me, see me at work. And next thing I knew, I was getting a call to come to, it would then have been Classic Radio, and do a tryout. Then Mr. Gordon, Ken Gordon, was about that time running training programs for the staff and invited me in. I rightly so saw it as the sign, the signal that my radio career was about to get going. And well, I was right. And I got in at Classic Radio. I remember one classic afternoon when the way the thing was set up, it was semi-automated radio, well, automated radio, which would have given the personnel to do other stuff. What's called it? What's the phrase? No, multitasking, if you would. And so the person who was assigned to be my operator, Jared Thomas, God bless his soul, he went over to production. But the time had come when we were supposed to take the system offline to allow the announcer in to do live scripts and so on. Now, coming up to that, I was asking questions all the time about the system, how it works, what causes what commands should I issue to the computers to effect them. So I issued what we used to call an alt-S, which would tell the system to go live. Put on the mic, did the commercial, hit print screen, and we were on again.
How you did that? You knew where the...
Well, I knew the keyboard.
You knew the keyboard that well?
I knew the keyboard that well because, I was a fairly proficient typist. And then I was able to associate the other keys on the keyboard or the alternate keys and that kind of stuff, control, what have you. So I knew exactly what is. I asked the right questions for precisely that kind of situation should it come up. And
nobody didn't know you were asking those questions for that purpose.
Sorry for them.
Yeah. but going back though, I mean, that's when you entered and you got your break, so to speak. But did you receive the challenges of people in media, management in media, literally not taking you seriously? How could you be a broadcaster?
Yes. I had done, without calling names, I've been to many media houses. I've done countless demos. If I might sound conceited, it's okay. I know they were flawless. And it was just that, well, I guess they didn't think that a blind person would be able to cut it. Again, sorry for them.
And that did not at all deter you? That did not shatter your spirit in any way at all?
Not at all. I wouldn't allow it.
And that's simply because that is what Storming Tom knew he wanted to do.
That's right. So the thing is that I seized every radio opportunity, every invitation to every program, every DJ mixing contest. I had been a part of it all, so as I could get close to the thing that I loved. And well, here am I today.
Yeah. Tommy, we're going to take a short break. I want you to come back and tell me Storming Tom. When we come back from this break, I want to tell you how you got that name, Storming Tom. I have a little idea, I feel it, because in my encounters with you, you're kind of storming kind of guy.
Yeah,
but But when you come back, you give me the real story behind the name.
We'll share.
We'll share that story with our viewers when we come back. Sharing a cup with Storming Tom, a blind broadcaster that is certainly an inspiration to many, many. If you feel you have some sort of disability, some reason why you can't do what you're doing, just look at this chap here. Fantastic inspiration. Continuing to do fantastic work here in TNT. We're coming right back here.
They are best friends. They share everything: experiences, moments, and adventures. They're always together. Protect them with Clim One Plus from Nestle. It's the only growing up milk with Prebio 1 to help protect them from gastrointestinal diseases. Your instinct is to love and protect him. Clim will do the same. Nestle, good food, good life.
Why settle for a one-note cereal? Get more with Honey Bunches of Oats. 4 nutritious grains come together for more taste, more texture, more healthy satisfaction. Have a bowl of happy.
Yeah, we're back and talking with Storming Tom this morning on Cup of Joe, sharing a cup with him. And it's really interesting that when I started Radio Tom, and I said, you may not know this, but when Tony Lee in those days just threw you on air and said, go and do your do, and I would be making errors and kicking myself, and then I would see you come up so flawlessly and do your stuff. I said, no, man. And I was kicking myself. So that was one of the things I looked at you and said, no, man, if this guy can do it and rise above all what he's risen above in his life, I mean, you know, and that is a message that I think you've sent strongly, and not only to everybody, but I mean, even folks that will be differently able, Tom. I mean, have you encountered folks that, you know, you would have inspired, and what would you advise folks like that?
Yes, I would have inspired quite a few folk who are both abled or quote-unquote abled and differently abled.
Yeah.
And it's quite, I think about it sometimes and I smile to myself because, as you said, you know, I'm able to do it. A lot of people think that they're not able to do it, but you can do anything you set your mind to. I remember a guy who came into radio and he had to work with me and he was more nervous than I, you know, it's like, I reminded him about butterflies. I said, and butterflies do go away, so don't worry about it. Relax, do what you have to do. A couple of things too. Another thing I tell people in radio, if what we call crash, if you should crash, or you go to dead air for some reason because you weren't prepared for something, it's pointless panicking. Don't panic. Because if you panic, you're going to have to find time to recover from that and to recover from what caused the crash in the first place. So you just have to let it go.
Cool Storming Tom. Tell me what the name. Tell me what the name Storming Tom. Where was it derived from?
Well, when I got into classic radio, I went in because of the time slot I had. I chose the name The Quiet Storm, and the music really was music of love, that kind of stuff. So it suited. But then, as my career took flight, I went into many other areas. There was a friend of mine who used to call me Storming. So, well, okay, well, Storming Tom. Because even before that, I was called the Sightless Super Mixer.
Right.
We combine it sometimes, depending on what I'm doing. But Storming, that's where the name came from. Just pulling from two different experiences and a name that a friend gave me.
You knew you had a voice on you?
Always, in my teenage days, I used to deliberately try to accentuate the lower, the resonance in my voice.
You used to get down low there.
Yes, you know, I had to. And, well, it worked.
Yeah. And so I almost wonder now, and as I said, you've been in the industry, you've gone through, you've paid your dues. What do you see yourself doing and looking ahead to in your future?
I am kind of tempted to do some talk. My 9 to 10 hour on a Sunday morning is tempting me. But I think I have to learn some control, because some of the topics that are trending these days, oops, there's that word. They're so emotive.
Yeah.
And I could sometimes lose it. I'm
Yeah.
not always cool when
Right.
it comes to certain kinds of issues. And but that's the only thing that's holding me back. But I really think I want to go to talk at some point.
You've seen the industry grow. Are you currently the only blind person on the airwaves?
No, we have.
There are a couple others.
Yeah. We have a Kern Tyson, or that.
Kern Tyson, yes.
And a David Matthews down in San Fernando at WAC.
At work, yeah. I mean, this is now. Oh, I mean, you were a trendsetter, Tom. I mean, you were the first person locally to bridge that gap and show that it can be done.
Well, in this kind of way, there was a guy, Boani Prasad, who did a half hour on Radio Trinidad back in the early days.
Boani, yeah, I know
Yeah,
Boani.
you know, but you would know Boani.
Yeah.
He did a half hour on a Wednesday, but a full radio career, yes, I would have been the first one.
Yeah. In terms of actually, because Boani would have gone in and just be a guest, I suppose.
Well, yeah, then he started to host his.
He started to host as well.
Through Sam Ghani,
Right.
who was a radio, who was one of the managers out at TBC,
Right.
and who went blind, later on in his life.
Yeah.
So I suppose he would have taken a kind of approach to assist or allow people like Boani to do his due.
Yeah. And things have gotten easier, is it to say, in terms of acceptance? In your days, you would have had to climb hurdles and get over obstacles. Is it a little easier today, you think?
Well, if there were 200 hurdles, there are now 198.
Wow, so things haven't gotten that easy.
No, it hasn't gotten that easy. I know a lot of youth who want to get into radio. That's their dream.
We're talking blind youth.
Blind youth.
Yeah.
And I really pray that things would, maybe if we get it down to 98 hurdles, we can do it easily and they would be less frustrated.
So is it the same mindset you think that existed 20, 30 years ago, still exists today? Among
All habits die hard.
Yeah. And despite the fact that, I mean, you're a living example, you've proven that it can be done. Young blind youth, they still have that problem?
A lot of people refer to me. I don't know that it makes things any easier for them. For example, that guy in South, he has had to purchase his own computer because they won't allow him to install the software that would allow him to function on their computers. I think they should study the software and they'd realize that listen to the name of it, it's JAWS, Job Access with Speech. So that you don't need, this is not going to crash your system. It's just going to help. If you're investing your time, well, your money in someone whom you believe, because it is an investment, in someone whom you believe can make a difference in your bottom line, by all means, I will encourage you to give them the equipment they need to function. I didn't have that to deal with, fortunately. I don't know what I would have done, how I would have dealt with it had I had such a, because I wasn't buying no computer.
And that is the reality that is facing young blind broadcasters today?
Well, that was just one incident. I am just hoping that we don't find that happening again.
You would be thankful to, I'm sure, many people. I don't know if you want to mention a few that would have allowed you to help break those barriers, that you can do it. I'm sure a couple will come to mind.
A lot of people. I start with folks like Sky Promotions, who allowed me to be a part of their DJ competition. Playboy Lalo, the late, who would have allowed me to use his system, because I've been to many gigs where I was not allowed to play because somebody didn't think a blind man would know what to do.
Right.
So we have to thank them as well, and DJ 75 Live in the media industry, people like Phil Simmons and Dave Elcock, Ian Elligo, for thanking you guys for the inspiration to the CCN group, and particularly Mr. Ken Gordon and Julian Rogers, who would have been the lead people in allowing me. And I mean, I even got a shot at TV. So,
Yeah.
but behind the cameras.
Yeah, you did some voicing at TV.
Yes, I was station voice
You were the
for
station voice
TV6.
for many years ago.
And I'm still available.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. Hint. Stormy Tom still available here at TV6 if you want to get a good voice and you hear the voice. Tell me where you can be heard now on I-95.5.
I-95.5, Monday to Wednesday at 7, Saturday at 2, and Sunday morning at 6. And every public holiday.
And every public
6
holiday.
a.m.
At 6 a.m. Stormy Tom, thank you so much, my brother. As I said, you have continued to be an inspiration to me, and I'm sure to many, many more out there in TNT. Well done. Continue. I can't believe you're 50, man. You're looking like 20.
Yeah, that's good.
You look like 20.
Thank you, Gene.
Stormy Tom, they're dropping by, sharing a cup with me this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Tom. And we're taking a short break. We're coming right back here on a couple of things.
Want to know what you can do with Rani flatbread? You give steak a slice, lay pieces on Rani, sprinkle spice, add grated cheese and sweet peppers with a dice, and finish by rolling it up real nice.
Now that's a Rani good idea.
There's really one bank you can depend on. One bank that leads the way. Technology and systems separate us from the rest. Yeah. Republic gives only the best to you. We get personal attention, so explain for your inspection.
And we're back here on A Cup of Joe. Good Monday morning to you if you're now joining us. It's time to swing into a Cup for a Cause segment, and our cause that we're dealing with this morning is the TNT Down Syndrome Family Network, and we have the president and founder here with us this morning. His name is Glenn Niles. Mr. Niles, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
It's one of the things in society that has been around for so long that it almost seems to be swept under the carpet, and I think when I heard about the Down Syndrome Family Network a couple of years ago, I thought that was just such a brilliant idea, not knowing that you were the man behind it. and then just a couple of weeks ago, I had the privilege of hosting one of the events where Down syndrome and some underprivileged children were involved at the Harvard Club, and it touched me a bit. Tell me first of all, what's the role of your organization in society?
All right, well, I realized there was a gap. Well, I'm a parent. I have a son with Down syndrome.
Right.
And when I think about what happened when he was born and how I felt, and it was just everything associated with it, because we were a young couple, we didn't know anything about Down syndrome. There he was, born with Down syndrome. I knew I was going to have a son, so my life just basically crashed right there and then, because I'm thinking that, expecting a son and all the things that you had to feel that you're going to be able to do, with your son. And I'm thinking, well, now that he's born with Down syndrome, that I'll never be able to do anything like that, anything even close to that, and now I know I was so wrong. So in 2008, I attended the National Down Syndrome Conference in the US, and well, I started communicating with them online and finding out more about Down syndrome, and I decided to attend the conference. And at the conference, what changed my entire life was when I met people with Down syndrome who were very independent. I could speak to them just like how I'm speaking to you. I didn't have to speak slowly and make gestures, for them to understand me. And some of them were working independently, they were living independently, they were married, they attended university, they had their degree. This was all so fascinating to me, coming from Trinidad and never seeing anything like close to that in Trinidad, where I thought that my son will never have a life, any kind of life as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So
Was an eye-opener for you then?
It was a total eye-opener.
Yeah. Can I get you something to drink, Mr. Niles?
Sure. Well,
yeah.
I think
What are you
a
having?
cup of Joe would be fine.
Yeah. You having coffee?
Yes,
Yeah?
coffee.
Coffee.
please.
All right. We get some coffee for Mr. Niles. And that's just interesting because it just sort of showed that, okay, so this is a condition that children are born with. It's not a disease. It's not to say, okay, they're cast down, their quality of life will never be the same. Break that down for me in terms of parents, young parents who now are probably experiencing what you experienced many years ago.
Yes, well, Down syndrome is a genetic condition, thank you, where the 21st chromosome splits. And so instead of somebody having 46 chromosomes like the typical human being,
right,
they will have 47. And it causes certain physical characteristics. You'll see no crease on the top eyelid, the ears are lower on the head, the neck is kind of squat. You know, so those are certain things. There's a crease in the palm itself that isn't there. The feet are shaped differently. You know, but the thing is, not all of the children have all of those physical characteristics, but they will have some of them. That's why some people used to refer to them as children of God, because despite ethnicity, you know, culture or anything, they all resemble. You know, they all have these certain physical characteristics. So what it creates though is a cognitive delay in their learning. You know, so it's not that they can't learn, but it's just that they learn at a slower pace. So you have to have a little more patience with them, and that is something I didn't know when my son was born. So I always thought that I would have to do everything for him. I always thought that he would not be able to do anything for himself, and we would always have to be there for him. Until I went to this conference and actually saw the potential of people with Down syndrome. So, you know, he was probably sorry that I ever went to the conference, because when I came back, I began challenging him.
You're a different daddy.
Yeah, I was totally different. Totally different.
Yeah.
You know, I would allow him to do, things on his own. And he met every challenge.
Right.
So I realized then that it wasn't him. I was keeping him back.
Right. So your immediate advice to parents would not to, I suppose, baby up the situation.
Not to pamper them.
Not to pamper the situation.
In fact, challenge them.
Yeah.
And they will surprise you. You know, let them explore, let them learn. Because it's easy, as a parent, I can say for what I went through, and I could say for, in speaking with some other parents, that it's difficult because, sometimes you blame yourself, because I blame myself when my son was born. It was thinking that, what did I do? God, why? Why was I given a son with Down syndrome? Was it something I did, in my past? Was I being punished? And you see how, in some of the parents, how they relate to the kids, they almost feel the same way. And then they overcompensate with the pampering. Some of the parents, they don't allow the kids to do anything at all. I was interacting with a sibling, and she said that her mom did everything for her sister, and her sister is now 32 years old and cannot do anything for herself.
Yeah.
And now her mom died, unfortunately, and her father is very ill, so the burden of taking care of the sister, and it became a burden because she wasn't allowed to learn to take care of herself and to be independent. So now the sister is faced with that, along with having to take care of her own family. And so you see how difficult that could be.
Is that now, that education that you obviously gleaned is being spread around the country? Do our young parents know that is the case? These children are just they're not problems to say that, okay, we just have to put them away, take care of them, baby them. They can become members of society, and productive members of society. Is that being spread across the country now, that parents know this?
And that is what we are trying to do with the network. Because a lot of people, initially they thought that we are another support, quote unquote, mechanism.
Right.
And where they look for, of course, financial support, because it's very difficult having a child with Down syndrome. But we are more than that. We will point you in the direction of how you could get the financial support.
Right.
But the main thing is letting you know about the potential of your child and how you can raise that child to be to that level of independence where they could be an asset to the community, as opposed to being a burden. Because I keep thinking, I thought about it, and I don't have any more children. So I'm thinking that if we don't, prepare my son Tyrese to be that independent person, then he will become that, a burden to his cousins, to my sister's children, or to his mother's, brother's children. So, and that is a scary thought, thinking about that. So we try our best to make him as independent as possible, and he keeps, as I said, meeting every challenge. I'm only sorry that I didn't know this when he was born. To see exactly where he would be now as a young man, because he's 15, he'll be 16 in December, and he wants to do everything that the average young man does, as a teenager. He loves to dance. He wants to drive. He wants his own vehicle. He wants his own home. Or he has all the same dreams that most young men would want. And I have to see how I could, make him actually realize some of those dreams.
Now that you're in this position and the organization, how long has the organization been around?
Well, we are incorporated on the 3rd of August in 2011. So we are still very young. We are now going into our...
What do you want? Do you want parents to come to you? How are you reaching out to parents who may have questions, who may want more education, more enlightenment about how to deal with children with Down syndrome?
Yeah, well, we have 3 workshops a year and 1 conference. The conference is in March to commemorate World Down Syndrome Day. That's on the 21st of March. So every year we have our conference around that time, and we always try to bring down a self-advocate from the US, showing people so they could meet and interact with someone who has Down syndrome and yet is very, very accomplished. The first year we had Karen Gaffney, and she's the president of the Karen Gaffney Foundation. She has an associate degree. She's a professional open water swimmer, not a Special Olympian. And she also travels all over the world as a self-advocate. And she's in her 30s. This year we brought down David Egan. He's a very proficient Special Olympian swimmer, and because his parents did not, they got an Olympic coach for him, to teach him to swim. So he's an amazing swimmer. So they really cannot stop him in the pool. So he's almost, he outclasses everyone else in swimming.
When is the next conference that you're having locally here?
In March.
March
We have the quarterly workshops. The other one would be in September. And we always, come out, we go on television, on radio before the conference, let people know what's going on. Now, as we are building, we want to have more workshops because we want to reach more people. What happens, a lot of people still believe, because their kids are older, that they don't need the network. And I say, they probably don't need the network, but we need them. Because there are some of them who come to the workshop. We have Carol Markey, her son Roberto. Everybody knows John and Helen Humphrey, the granddaughter Rebecca. Arlene Williams, her son John Williams. It's good for them to come to the network, to their workshops, and speak to the parents, because their kids are in their 30s, and for somebody with a 5-year-old son to see John Williams and to see how John's level of cognition, because his mom is a teacher, and to speak to Rebecca and see how she could speak and relate to you. So all the fears and the myths that they hear, that some of them actually, the doctor actually told them, well, your daughter might walk or she might not walk. Well, she might talk or she might not talk, but her life will not be close to what is considered normal. And for somebody who just going through labor, and that's the first thing you hear, and it's very, very depressing, to you. And at least when you come to the workshop and you hear these parents and you see these kids, you realize that it's not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
And in fact, that they could have a much better life.
Excellent. Mr. Niles, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much for popping by. And of course, the TNT Down Syndrome Family Network. Go on all the social media platforms, I suppose, and you can connect with them if it is you want any assistance, any sort of education process for your own mind, for your own situation. You can contact Mr. Glenn Niles and his association. Thank you very much, Mr. Niles. We're taking a short break here on A Cup of Joe. We're coming right back.
There's really one bank you can depend on. Friendly service every day. There's really one standard of treating you like you deserve to be. Yeah. Republic gives only the best to you. We get personal attention, so explain for your inspection.
Hello there. I'm sure you recognize him, but you may not know me. I'm Mr. Peanut's stunt double. I used to go by Mr. Peanut Butter, but somebody thought I was infringing on his trademark. So now I have to go by Doug. Peanut Butter Doug. Roll it!
Cut. Action. Cut.
Amazing stuff. You paying attention over there? That's called acting. That's what separates the real actors. I'm okay. Introducing Planters Peanut Butter. Naturally remarkable.
Yeah, we are wrapping up on this wonderful Monday here on A Cup of Joe, and we are wrapping up with what we are now dubbing the spoken word spotlight. And the spoken word movement around in TNT for some time now, and we are now featuring some of the artists. I think 7 of the artists, Abio?
7 of the artists.
7 of the artists during the
that
course of our
form
season.
part of the resurgence,
Yes.
I would think, of the movement in TNT right about now.
And it's such an important movement.
Of course it is.
I think it's something that we committed to, and I am so glad that we committed to it, because we've been getting some fabulous
work.
performances so far.
I have been, okay, I'm going to admit I've been cheating just a tiny bit.
You have?
Because I've actually been privy to these artists' work in another manifestation.
Yeah.
They've been featured in the Free Speech Project on one of the more prominent radio stations.
Yeah, that's actually where I heard it first.
Exactly.
On
I've been following their work for a while. Today we have Brandon. Now I have to look at my notes because Brandon is actually a side of a twin who we will also meet. So there's Brandon and Brendan.
Brandon and Brendan.
And I only know them. I can only recognize them through their work. Isn't that weird?
Wow.
And the hair. Don't forget
And the hair. And the hair. Yeah, Brendan has bigger hair.
Right. Okay,
Right.
okay.
But it's easier for me to recognize them through their work. But Brandon has been...
Have you all done anything together? You have done
A very long time ago.
Serious?
Yeah.
You got to grace us with that at some point.
Yeah. One of these days you'll get it blind.
Get it back. He'll give you a fly one of these days. No, but very quickly, just, so we can properly introduce him to our audience. He's been performing since secondary school. He was one of the founding members of Trinity College East's first spoken word group, Jinge. And he's also a performer with the Arts in Action Wordsmiths Poets group that I've also had the privilege to work with.
Nice.
So I'm really excited about today's piece, and you'll see why.
Yeah?
You'll see why. So, take it away, Brandon O'Brien.
Stage is yours, sir.
This is not my story to tell. It's theirs. But you already kicked your son out of your house for trying to tell it. So think of me as his lawyer, objecting against your abuse in the court of public opinion. He's the same boy you brought up, same boy that could be the next Lara if you just buy him a bat and stay with him. Same A student, quick-witted, wants to be either a writer or a physicist because either one can win the Nobel Prize. Same boy that loves you, hugs you, who comes from you, who is one of you, but you don't like that he has a boyfriend. You would turn your back on blood because you don't approve of a perfectly natural love, so now he knows that his true being is something that you would discard him for. A piece of spoiled love you can't keep without feeling ashamed that he can hold a hand and lean upon a shoulder and know that this love can be strong, like he is. His love anchors him to his future. So even when you put your fatherhood in the past, his true value is ever present. If God is love, then they know more of godliness than you can find in any cathedral pew. And this last part is sad but true. The boy that holds your son close after everything that you would do, your son fell in love with him because he reminded him of you.
And there you have it. You see why I was really excited about it? You see why I...
You seem a little shy.
I purposefully didn't tell Joel the content of today's piece.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, and...
You got caught off guard.
I mean,
totally caught off guard in his pink shirt.
But it's a good shirt.
This is not fair. This is not fair. But I mean, things need to be said. That's part of society.
And that's the beautiful part.
Need to be said.
This is the beautiful part of the spoken word movement, that it gives voice and it gives a platform to encourage conversation, healthy conversation about topics like these. So thank you, Brandon. I'm so glad that maybe today your words may have touched some family. You know, some fractured family because of that very same issue.
The thought-provoking pieces continue, and that definitely was a thought-provoking piece, and it's something that you said to ponder on in society.
Exactly.
That has to be dealt with, and that's the purpose, I suppose, of the spoken word.
You look so uncomfortable,
issues.
Joel.
No, it's fine. Come back.
No, but Brandon is multi-talented.
He is.
He's multi-talented. Before we go very quickly, Brandon is wearing a jersey here. There's something special you want to tell me about this t-shirt?
Right, so my brother printed this t-shirt, who you will see in the coming weeks. My brother Brandon printed this shirt. These are his watchwords: blessings, compassion, peace, and love. If you want these watchwords, if you want to wish these watchwords upon yourself, or upon your body, in your presence, this is $70. You could check either one on Facebook, either one of us on Facebook, either one of us on Twitter. On Facebook, we're Brandon J. O'Brien and Brandon J. O'Brien. Brandon is Brandon O'Brien on Twitter, and you could just ask to get a link up for one of these shirts. We'd be glad to give you one.
Beautiful. Nice. So before we go, after that, loved it. Let's just say, yes, we'll wrap the show while you catch yourself. I want to say thank you so much to the wonderful folks at Drink, as always, for being oh so hospitable, and also Amanda, Faces of Belarus, for making us all look fabulous. If you'd like to get in contact with us, feel free to check us out on Facebook at Cup of Joe TT. If you would like to send us an email, drop us a line or two about anything that you've heard today, you can email us at acupofjoett@gmail.com.
You do that so well.
Thanks.
All right, that's a wrap up for today, folks. Another wonderful day, another wonderful show, Cup of Joe. We continue on Wednesday. Join us again. Whatever you're having in your cup,